You can look at the camera if you want to. All right. We are live for a very special edition of the Vix Flicks podcast. We're doing a live stream today. So thank you all for tuning in with us, celebrating the filmography of Tom Hanks. So, of course, throughout the broadcast, we encourage you guys to jump into the comment section. Let us know what your favorite Tom Hanks performance is. If you got a Tom Hanks Mount Rushmore, drop it in the comments. That's what we're here to do today. We're going to get Brandon's thoughts on his latest release, A Man Called Otto. I almost said A Man from Otto. And we're just going to have a good time. Why are we live streaming today? Well, to be honest with you, we haven't done a live stream like this in a long time. We're just trying to have some fun. It's a Tuesday afternoon, 4:30 here in Nashville. Maybe some of you are trying to get through the last little bit of the workday. We can help you get there. If you're watching us on the replay or listening to us on the RSS feed for the Vix Flicks podcast, we still encourage you to interact with the show. Drop a comment on the episode wherever you take it in. Let us know what your favorite Tom Hanks performance is. Of course, I am the host of the Vix Flicks podcast, or one of the hosts, I should say, of the Vix Flicks podcast, the EIC at SoBrosNetwork.com. Big natural Stoney Keeley. You can follow me on Twitter at Stoney Keeley. Follow us collectively at Vix Flicks Pod on Twitter and at Sobros Network on all major social media platforms. Joined as usual by the star of the show, the man whose namesake it bears, the resident film critic of Sobros Network, member of the Music City Film Critics Association and the Southeastern Film Critics Association, Brandon Vick. Brandon, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm good. I'm having to pay attention to my posture because I feel like at any moment I'll be talking to you like an old grandmother like this, just rocking on my chair.
Yeah, in the studio, for those watching on the broadcast, we're basically just set up in my living room, and we're sitting in nice, comfy, relaxing camping chairs that rock back and forth.
They're
And
very comfy.
I'm fighting the same battle myself, man. I just want to slouch over. And I don't know how good that's going to be for the appearance on camera, but I think we're going to have a good conversation here nonetheless, and that's what we should be focusing on, right?
Yes. Also, listen, you said at the top, you said about live streaming. We were talking about doing something special for Tom Hanks because let's face it, the man deserves it.
He does, man. And well, finish your thought. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, then on top of that, the Golden Globes are back tonight for anybody who's excited about that.
I was trying to think about the annals of the Vix Flicks podcast. I think I just felt my cat. Oh, good.
We're live, pal.
We're up on Facebook. So I was thinking about this, the annals of actors and actresses that we've done on the Vix Flicks podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've tackled such an extensive filmography as Tom Hanks. The closest I think we've come is probably the Denzel Washington episode.
I was about to say, I think he's the only other man. And even for a lot, I feel like a lot of times they're compared because I don't think there's any two actors that aren't as dependable as those two men.
Sure.
Who have seen and done it all. But Tom Hanks is still like, and we'll get into it, his filmography is like, I mean, I think one thing for Tom Hanks is like he started in comedy.
Yeah.
But then he's also in some of the biggest movies.
Was 1980, and it was like a B movie slasher. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's really funny though, because, and I know we'll talk about it, but literally I was watching something and saw that you could, I think it was on HBO Max, but The Burbs. And it was literally like a chainsaw thing coming through the wall. And I'm like,
yeah,
the man has, I mean, he really has done it all.
Who do you think, let's lump Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington in that same category of actors that, I mean, do you think it's fair to say that they're both like pretty universally beloved?
Oh, yeah.
Is there anybody else that you would put in that category, the stratosphere, this type of actor we're talking about?
I don't think so. I mean, you're talking about the longevity of their careers and what they've been able to accomplish and some of the hits. I think what's really impressive to me is that Tom Hanks has huge, no, hold on. He has huge like blockbusters under his belt as well. Denzel, weirdly enough, doesn't have a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I think when you think back on this stuff, it's like, I guess he doesn't. But first of all, that's credit to Denzel for not needing it.
Sure.
But Tom Hanks has literally gone through and has been a part. I mean, there are kids today that only know him as Woody from Toy Story.
That's wild.
I mean, to me, that's crazy. But the fact that some people may know him for that, other people only Big and Splat, like that's, you know what I mean? I think I could be wrong, but I feel like for us, it's kind of the Saving Private Ryan, the Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
You know, anybody who only knows him from the Lady Killers is a son of a bastard.
I'm with you there, man. I feel like you might have been able, when you think about the stratosphere of that type of actor, I like Anthony Hopkins, but I don't know that he's had like the mainstream blockbuster stuff to really be that sort of beloved household name. I mean,
I feel like he's an actor's actor.
Yeah.
I think he's the one that other actors admire and respect.
Mm-hmm.
But from an audience, I really don't know if you can think of too many people like, my God, the stuff he's done.
Yeah. Maybe, I mean, Tom Cruise is a pretty divisive guy. A lot of people think he's good. He's rock solid.
He's good.
I'm a fan of Tom Cruise, the actor, but I feel like I know a lot of people are just like, well, he's batshit
I mean,
crazy.
he's nuts, but
yeah,
I've always said listen, Top Gun Maverick is, until Avatar Way of Water took over, that was the highest grossing movie of 2022.
I think Leo has his detractors.
Johnny
Depp definitely has his detractors.
DiCaprio, to me, though, does a lot of good stuff. He works with a lot of good people. I don't think there's anything that he really can't do. And he seems pretty selective.
Yeah. I might have said Will Smith, but I feel like the slap affected a lot of people's opinion of him, but he was kind of starting to go down that Tom Cruise little bit crazy path himself even before that.
I think Will Smith can be associated with box office success, but I don't really, I think that's kind of where it ends, which nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I can't think of another actor. The only thing that I think of, like off the top of my head, and I mean, they've worked together as well, but I think you talk about a filmography like this, I think Steven Spielberg.
Well, they've worked together.
Someone who's also been there through the 70s.
Yeah.
So, and listen, Spielberg and Tom Cruise were buds for a while.
That's true. That is very true.
War of the Worlds was okay, but Minority Report.
Oh, yeah.
That's
the sweet spot right there. So let's talk about A Man Called Otto.
Yes.
It is the movie that inspired this entire podcast. The synopsis from IMDb reads, if you haven't seen the trailers, Otto is a grump who's given up on life following the loss of his wife and wants to end it all. When a young family moves in nearby, he meets his match in quick-witted Marisol, leading to a friendship that will turn his world around. Brandon, I watched the trailer for this, and it kind of feels like Tom Hanks playing classic Tom Hanks. Dive into this movie a little bit. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I got to say, yes, you're right. Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm.
I think the attraction is that the world's nicest man plays the world's grumpiest man.
Yeah, that's the gimmick.
But
right?
Tom Hanks is too pure to even be a real grouch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You read that synopsis and it sounds like it's very kind of cookie cutter standard stuff.
Sure.
And it is.
Yeah.
There really are no surprises. I think if you're a fan of Tom Hanks, I think you'll be pleasantly I think you'll be delighted. To me, Tom Hanks is fine. I don't think he can put in a bad performance, and I don't even think he was awful in that Pinocchio remake, though that's one of the worst movies I saw. But Tom Hanks is never the problem in a film.
Team Guillermo.
You hear me?
On the Pinocchio debate.
He's never the problem.
No,
never.
He's the Jake Gyllenhaal of legendary actors.
That's right. But and I hope I'm saying this right, Mariana Trevello, who plays Marisol.
All right.
She is the scene stealer of the film. She is the mother and wife of this family that moves across the way as his new neighbors. And as much of kind of, I would say, a cliche character, really the script and the narrative is somewhat cliched all the way around, but her energy, she has this spunk. And of course, it's her character that's supposed to make him, want to live life again, have the hunger to be that connection to the
Yeah.
world and where
Mhm.
he that makes him want to live and see the good in people. And but she, I thought, did really well. She's lovable, and I truly think she'll have audience enamored with what she's able to bring. And when you can kind of outshine Tom Hanks, no matter what kind of
Ooh.
movie it is, you're doing
girl.
something right. It's sentimental, and it does have its charm. I mean, I think a lot of that is just the way Tom Hanks portrays this guy. This is actually an adaptation that's based on the Swedish novel, but there was also a foreign film called A Man Called Uwe, I think.
Okay.
It was actually a big hit, and I watched that, and it's really good. The thing is that even with its like the several endearing moments, it's so, in a storytelling perspective, it's still so safe and procedural that it's really, at the end, it's just really an unnecessary remake. I don't really see. I guess I kind of see the appeal for Tom Hanks, like I said, to be able to kind of be this angry character, which technically we haven't seen before, but I just don't think we really needed it.
Is that why you think this movie got dumped at the beginning of January? They're
Here's the
self-aware on
thing.
this.
I actually got a screener of this because it did an awards run and it came out December 30th. And now it's being dropped.
Okay.
I think it's already in select theaters, and then I believe it comes out even more theaters nationwide this Friday.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think it's kind of like, hey, Tom Hanks is in this, and there's really nothing else out. So
except for Megan,
which I have a review on sobrosnetwork.com. But but I think fans of Tom Hanks, I would say older audiences would probably get more of a kick out of this. But like I said, it's really kind of what the trailer tells you, kind of the movie that you're going to see. It's pretty much what a lot of us have seen before in some form or fashion.
Okay.
Me personally, I think, I think the performances help it move along more. So if I'm, VixFlix rating wise, I would probably give it 2.5 at the most.
I mean, that's
it's not bad, but I mean, once we go over Tom Hanks's resume, this will be towards the bottom. I mean, I don't know. I mean, anybody who thinks otherwise is kidding themselves. I read that some people have acted like this was Tom Hanks's best performance in within the last few years.
Okay.
But I'll be honest, I don't really know if I agree, because I don't know if anybody saw it, but there's one, and again, this has been a handful of years, but News of the World, the Paul Greengrass movie.
I haven't finished it. I started that and I got like 25 minutes into it and was like, I'm too tired to finish this movie, and I actually really dig it, so I'm going to pause this, and then I never went back and finished it.
I thought it was a very interesting movie, and I thought he did a great job. But in between that and this one,
I liked Greyhound.
I guess you could see it. But see, I didn't mind Greyhound, and there's an Apple TV Plus movie called Finch that I thought he did really good in. So, and listen, I'm not saying that it's the greatest, but you know what? If I'm Tom Hanks, I'll put on some fat suit makeup stuff and be an Elvis. He didn't ruin it.
No, he
didn't ruin it.
No. What are you drinking on today?
Oh, this is Four Roses single batch. Thanks for asking.
I busted out the scotch for this one because these new Titans glasses my mother got me for Christmas.
They're nice.
Really good quality Christmas gift.
She did a good job.
I was saving. I told you before we started recording, like, this is going to be a girthy, deep conversation. This is an extensive filmography to get to. I'm busting out the special stuff for this one, so that's what we're celebrating here on the VixFlix podcast.
Hell yeah.
And Happy New Year, by the way.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year. I forgot it's 2023.
Yeah, so specifying here, we're really just going to talk about the filmography of Tom Hanks. If we start getting into his background, his upbringing, the life of Tom Hanks, we're going to be here for 5 hours. So this is something, if you're watching the Vick's Flicks podcast for the first time, if you're listening for the first time, this is kind of how we approach these profiles of filmmakers and actors and actresses when we do them on the Vick's Flicks podcast. We're going to center on the filmography because it's what we know, it's what we've watched, it's what we've experienced throughout our lives.
And I think, like many who are watching, I've got to get back in time to see who's wearing what at the Golden Globes.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, I got to cook dinner tonight too.
Oh God,
man, we got shit to do.
Don't you have a wife?
People are going to be. Oh my God. People are going to be clocking out of work soon. Hopefully they hang with us when they get to their car, but there's shit to do. We can't be here all night. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So one question that I like to lead off with when we do these episodes, what's your first memory of Tom Hanks?
I kind of had already started thinking about this, like what was like the first movie? And honestly, I was too young, because I do think back at like Forrest Gump and even Philadelphia, which co-starred with Denzel Washington.
But movies, well, fair to say, movies we missed during their first run, had to go back and discover them when we were older.
I may have watched Forrest Gump when it came out. I might have watched that, but
we would have been 8 years old.
But listen, I saw rated R movies when I was at least 10 or 11.
Okay.
Because mom and dad would take me, and I don't want any judgment. I turned out all right.
Yeah, I would say so.
So there's two movies that came to mind. His voice, Toy Story.
Yeah.
Before that, I feel like it might have been A League of Their Own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those are the two that come to mind, I think, when I first saw who that was.
My first memory of Tom Hanks is just knowing that he is Tom Hanks. I don't think I was racking my brain earlier. I don't remember the first time.
That's how legendary the man is.
That's how legendary he is. I don't remember the first time. I can remember, let me take a look here. I can remember the first time going to the movies. It's probably Castaway. The Green Mile, Castaway, Road to Perdition, Catch Me If You Can, that run where I really started to know, like, Tom Hanks is in this movie. You get your ass in the theater.
Okay.
I remember Toy Story. I remember You've Got Mail.
See, You've Got Mail is one, but I for me, I still think it was before that. But that's kind of, You've Got Mail is my kind of like guilty pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie.
It's a good fall movie.
It's a good fall movie
to watch in the fall.
It's also great around Christmas because there's a little bit of Christmas decoration. I kind of like that nostalgia of those old bookstores, which even the big chain bookstores are rare these days. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, sorry, continue.
No, so I think like my early memories of Tom Hanks were just that he's Tom Hanks. He's a really good actor that's been in a ton of famous movies. I don't remember the first time. I don't remember a single performance being like the first time I was like, holy shit, Tom Hanks.
But I also think that makes sense to me because he's been a part of movie culture for so long that it's easy in the 90s to think like you might have watched Big or Splash.
Yeah.
Even though maybe you didn't and you have no idea, but you know who Tom Hanks is.
Yeah.
Even if it's from those, famous iconic scenes that that they show all the time, and I think so many people, I think that's why him getting his start on Bosom Buddies is so it's amazing on just the type of movies he was doing at first, those comedies, and how they are still, I would say as relevant as ever. Everybody, I think there's I'm going to say probably people that are older than us, but I think Big and Splash comes to probably almost everyone's mind, even if you haven't seen the whole thing.
Yeah. And I was researching some of like Tom Hanks trivia for this episode, and I didn't jot this one down, so I might misquote it, but I'm pretty sure he was trying out for Happy Days and ended up getting the lead for Splash.
Oh,
he tried out for Happy Days for something and ended up getting another lead role out of it. And I think I remember seeing it with Splash, but I could be wrong. I'll have to look that up later.
But just to be able to stay relevant, I mean, but I think that's what's so impressive. I mean, we can talk about stuff from the 80s, the 90s, 2000s.
5 decades.
Yeah. And
5 decades.
And last year, I'm going to include A Man Called Otto because technically it came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
He did 3 movies last year.
Yeah, he ain't slowing down.
I mean, and I think what the year before is when I want to think Greyhound and Finch maybe both came out. They were both streaming, but I think they both came out in the same year.
Finch was 2021. Greyhound was 2020.
Okay. Maybe
he did Greyhound and News of the World in 2020.
Okay, maybe okay. I was going to say, and then the next one, I remember him doing a couple of streaming ones, but in now
2022 was A Man Called Otto, Pinocchio, and Elvis.
Yeah, and then he's in the new Wes Anderson movie, which I am pumped for that.
Yeah, me too.
I think the only thing that Tom Hanks runs into, and I feel like there's a little bit of that in well, maybe more than a little, in A Man Called Otto, is that now you want to see him to be a villain. And I guess in Elvis he kind of was. So I appreciate that it was something different. But I think him working with someone like Wes Anderson, if he ever could do another, like maybe Tarantino's last movie, he could do now I want him to kind of take on these parts. And they don't have to be leading men anymore, but work with some of these directors. I don't think he's ever worked with Scorsese. There's some shit that I feel like people could have Tom Hanks if he wants to really kind of change it up. You don't have to stick to the same kind of formula and be a old, grump.
Yeah.
You can, you know what I mean? I think that would be exciting stuff, especially, he's in his 60s, so the man has nothing to lose. He's done everything.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's already got his Oscars. He's been in box office successes. He's been in critical successes. I mean, this man's filmography spans 5 decades.
Are you still pissed that he didn't get nominated for an Oscar for Captain Phillips? Because I am.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't want to jump ahead, but that's the one movie I'm like, that he deserved it. Sully? Okay.
I don't remember Captain Phillips. I need to watch it again. I know I've seen it.
Yeah, and what's the most famous scene?
Look at me, I'm the captain now.
I am the captain now. Where'd that guy go? He got nominated.
Wasn't he a cab driver?
I don't even know and I don't even know his name. And where is he?
I don't know.
Let's live stream about him.
Yeah, we'll do that next episode, next week, same time, same place. I don't remember what I was even going to say now.
So you don't remember Tom Hanks on the silver screen, but you know that you knew Tom Hanks at an early age.
Yeah. So let's dive into the filmography because this man has a crazy one. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up. Like the cat just all of a sudden the cat wants to just be a fucking menace. He's up on the his scratching post. Just go on and sit down, Bubba.
Lay down. He might watch.
Or he might get up on the table right now. I don't know what's about to happen. No, get down. So we diving into the filmography. There he is.
Here we go.
Okay. Hey,
can people
Bucky.
see him? Oh, poor Bucky. Go on.
Down. Get down.
Yeah.
Good listening. No, you're just kind of listening. Okay,
there we go.
All right. He might pop up again.
I can't wait till he starts pawing at the camera. Here we go.
He's about to. Yeah. Bubba, get down. Brandon, entertain these people while I corral this cat.
Hold on.
Oh, well.
Hold on. He heard you.
Maybe he's bored. Yeah, he heard the chair move.
He's moving on.
Okay, now we're safe. Let's dive into the filmography. Oh, the what I was gonna add. I am pretty sure that I watched Captain Phillips when I was really drunk at my old apartment one night, where I'd had like 5 gin and tonics and was like, "Oh, let's put this on," and then I fell asleep in the middle of it. So I remember watching it.
You should rewatch it.
Yeah, I think I will. There's a lot of these movies. If you know anything about me, you know pretty much everything before 2000 I didn't see, which includes some Tom Hanks classics. But he's in so much that I was looking through his filmography and I just saw like I didn't see that. I missed that. I missed this. So on and so forth.
I get it.
But now that we're back on the rails at least a little bit, let's start with the 80s. Is where he gets his start. His first acting credit, as I mentioned before, in a film called He Knows You're Alone, B-movie slasher. He has a cameo in it.
Don't they all start there?
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. 1984, we get Splash. We get Bachelor Party. 85, The Man with One Red Shoe. Volunteers. 1986, the year we were born. He gets The Money Pit. Nothing in Common. Every Time We Say Goodbye. 1987 is Dragnet.
Oh, yeah.
1988, Punchline and Big, of course.
Okay.
89, The Burbs, and who
Mhm.
could forget Turner and Hooch.
Mm.
I have seen none of those movies. Looking back, none of them. Missed out on 80s Tom Hanks and never really went back to catch up on it. What have you caught up on from 80s Tom Hanks?
I feel like I haven't caught up on any of those, but I feel like I have seen Big, Splash, and Turner and Hooch.
Big, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it wasn't, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. I feel like it wasn't too long ago I saw that like Big was playing at the Belcourt or somewhere like
That's
that.
possible.
Or
It's
maybe
possible.
at like one of the drive-throughs or drive-ins during COVID or something like that.
It could have been.
I feel
especially
like
if it's some anniversary. That's usually.
I feel like it was during that spell when movies weren't coming out, so they started playing old ones at the theaters.
Yeah.
That I saw that it was playing somewhere, and because I remember thinking like, oh, I need to go see that. I've never seen it. It's a classic.
But that's the thing. I think there's parts, and I used to associate this like with The Godfather. I feel like some of his movies, I don't even know if I've seen all the way, but I feel like I've seen them because they've been around for so long, and you understand the whole like story of it that you think like, yeah, I probably saw that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Volunteers, I don't think I did. The Money Pit, I feel like I have, but I feel like that was maybe in the last like 5 to 10 years, because I don't even know, maybe my wife had suggested or my father-in-law, maybe, I'm not sure. But I don't really remember the one with the red shoe. I don't.
Oh, there were films in that I had never even heard of until we started doing this show.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure on those, but yeah, and then Turner and Hooch, I do remember watching that.
Yeah. So flipping the calendar to 1990, this run in the 90s, man, I had lost perspective on just how special it really was. But just listen, 1990, Joe versus the Volcano, The Bonfire of the Vanities, 1992, A League of Their Own, Radio Flyer, 1993, Sleepless in Seattle, Philadelphia, 94 is Forrest Gump, 95, Apollo 13 and Toy Story, 96, That Thing You Do.
Oh, yeah.
98, Saving Private Ryan and You've Got Mail, and then 99, Toy Story 2 and The Green Mile.
Jeez.
That's a run.
Did you say The Burbs?
The Burbs was in the 80s.
That was in the 80s. Okay,
Yeah,
I think
89.
I've seen that one too. I think I've seen that one too. I mean, my God.
What a run.
Cinema
what a
had
run.
Changed. There's a few movies that literally were at the cusp of cinema changing.
Yeah.
I talked about A League of Their Own already, but the what was the 92 was A League of Their Own. What was 93?
93 was Sleepless in Seattle and Philadelphia.
Yeah, which Philadelphia brought his first, I think it was his first Oscar nomination and win.
Yeah. And then he went back to back with Forrest Gump the next year.
Which I don't know anybody that goes back to back these days.
Doesn't happen.
I really don't know if anyone's ever done it. But then you have someone like, back to Anthony Hopkins, who wins it, I think, in 91 and then won it again in 2020 or something. But
an actor's actor.
But I mean, listen, I talk about how Toy Story, Green Mile is a fantastic movie. It also with Michael Clark Duncan, Sam Rockwell, an early young Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
But I mean, my God, Forrest Gump, and I mean,
I know a lot of his films up to this point have garnered a lot of critical praise. Obviously, he's winning awards.
Yeah.
I know they made money.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at Apollo 13 in 1995, and I kind of feel like, honestly, that's one of the first movies I ever saw. So that's probably my first. I had no idea that was Tom Hanks at the time. But
would Apollo 13 in Philadelphia, like there's a change from comedy to drama.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, is Apollo 13 his first like blockbuster?
Well, it's directed by his buddy Ron Howard, which they've gone and done a
Yeah.
few things now.
But this is, I mean,
Yeah,
Apollo 13 was a big movie
Yeah,
in 95.
probably. I would venture to say that it brought in more money than probably some of the others. Now, some of that is because the money made in the 80s compared to the 90s is going to be different anyway with inflation or whatever. But I think that would be safe to say. I think Apollo 13 might be his first like big commercial success, especially depending on where it is like by the end of the year and how much money it grossed. I don't know if you know this, but the more money you make, the more of a box office success it is.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
from my understanding.
What do you think about That Thing You Do, which he also wrote the screenplay for
and directed? Which I think that was his first was his directorial debut.
Yeah.
I like that movie. It's got a very green Charlize Theron.
It does. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
And Steve Zahn might be my favorite person in the whole movie. There is a story, and this is going to really flame out fast, so no one get their hopes up.
Okay, good. Just what people want in a podcast.
Declined a movie to go and do That Thing You Do, and it was a big movie, and I don't know what it is, but he declined to do it, and instead ended up so he could direct and put focus on that film.
I thought I might have that in my trivia notes, but I don't, because I remember coming across that in the trivia section.
Excuse me. But there is something to it, but I like it. And the music is very catchy.
Ryan always gives me shit for this, so I'll let you talk about this movie. I have never seen Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan changed war movies.
I feel like that's one of the like quintessential Tom Hanks movies too.
It is. And all you have to do is watch that opening scene when they stormed Normandy Beach. That's all you have to do. I don't know if that's their first collaboration, but that's a Spielberg movie, and him and Tom Hanks, which are huge history buffs, war history buffs, end up doing Band of Brothers, Pacific.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just called the Pacific. Almost said Pacific Rim, but I know it's not true.
I don't think that's it. No.
But I really, to me, that is top shelf Tom Hanks. But honest to God, that's cinema. If you saw that in a theater, it was amazing. And you're talking about in 1999.
Yeah.
That was a huge deal.
I know you're a fan of The Green Mile. That's another one. I have not seen. I don't think I've seen The Green Mile.
You haven't seen The Green Mile?
Maybe I have. See, that's my problem with Tom Hanks and this extensive filmography, is that I can't remember what I have and haven't seen for real.
I love that movie. He is exceptional. But like I said, there's great performances all around. I mean, it's quite the ensemble, honestly. There's David Morris, Sam Rockwell, Michael Clark Duncan. I can't remember the guy's name, and he's passed now. And he was also in Air Bud, but he's the one that had the mouse for the friend. I don't remember the actor's name, but Are
you digging up a note right now?
Well, I'm trying to find That Thing You Do, because I truly can't remember what it was, and it's really bumming me out here. I want to make sure that I get it right, but I don't know.
Well, we have ourselves.
I'm sorry. I know I'm live, but I was trying to find, because there was some story about him and That Thing You Do, and I thought, wow, that's really, because That Thing You Do wasn't some big commercial success.
No, it was not.
And Tom Hanks hasn't directed that many, honestly. I think Larry Crown. I don't think he's really done that many. I think he's directed something in between.
Let's see. Well, Larry Crown, and that's all that's on his.
Yeah. So see, he's only done. I know he produces a lot through Playtone.
Yeah.
That's which, if anybody knows from That Thing You Do, there's Playtone Records. That's so.
He wrote the screenplay for Greyhound.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
how about that?
But yeah. Well, maybe we can find it and update everybody. But The Green Mile was definitely a Tom Hanks movie worth watching.
So let's move on to the 2000s. Another strong run.
Sorry, just one thing. I know for a fact my wife and her sister hate Forrest Gump.
Really?
Ain't that some shit?
I don't think it's as good as everyone makes it out to be, but I can't.
But you have to think back then and the kind of character that is and the performances, and then literally stumbling through history.
Yeah,
it's and it's from Robert Zemeckis, who listen, he hasn't had. I mean, him and Tom Hanks collaborated on that Pinocchio of last year.
Yeah,
so it's been bumpy, but I mean, my God, they did Polar Express together, they did Castaway together, they did Forrest Gump together. Robert Zemeckis, listen, how everything connects. Robert Zemeckis directed Denzel in Flight.
Yeah,
one of Denzel's best. But I mean, it's just sensational. It really is. But I think they found it boring and that it's too long, which if you ask my wife about most movies, she's going to tell you they're too long. A Man Called Otto is 2 hours and 6 minutes too long, which I kind of agree. We could have been at an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But when we like Avatar Way of Water and Babylon, they're over 3 hours. Let me tell you, whether she's pregnant or not, she ain't about that life.
Ain't about it. I just saw that Sean jumped into the chat and said, "What is up, boys? Hey, Sean, how's it going?"
I don't have time for conversations. I'm live.
Sean does say all movies should be 90 minutes.
Honestly, some would be so much better if they were. But then, I don't know. There's some where it's kind of like, hey, that was nice. The Batman, totally fine with it.
Yeah.
3 hours, so be it.
The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Yep, got a lot accomplished, yes.
I think it was 5 hours.
Was Lord of the Rings 2 Towers? That should have been probably an hour and 28 minutes, and I would have been fine.
I like the 2 Towers. I've always thought
that was boring.
I've always thought you were too hard on the 2 Towers.
Do you remember when you dragged me to go see Fellowship of the Ring? Which sounds crazy that you would tell me to go see a movie.
Yeah.
And I think we had to sit like really
close. We were up close, yeah.
To the screen. But I remember leaving because I think you had read Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, I did when we had our accelerated reading program in school.
I was so happy because I'm like, man, that was awesome. And I didn't know shit about Peter Jackson or anything at that point. But yeah, 2 Towers.
Now you know everything about Peter Jackson.
Now, after King Kong, you bet your ass I do.
All right, back to Tom Hanks.
Yeah, sorry.
In the 2000s, another crazy run. Castaway in 2000. Road to Perdition. Underrated movie, in my opinion.
Yes.
Catch Me If You Can. Those are in 2002. 2004, you have The Lady Killers.
Yeah. Bummer.
The Terminal.
I love that movie.
And The Polar Express. He's in. He has a cameo in Cars in 2006.
As a voice.
And of course, does the Da Vinci Code in 2006. 2007, Charlie Wilson's War.
I like that one with Julia Roberts and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
He has a cameo in the Simpsons movie in 2007.
Yep.
And then 2008, he's just doing his producing thing. 2009, we get The Great Buck Howard. We get Beyond All Boundaries, which is a short film that he narrated.
Oh, okay.
Angels and Demons, the sequel to the Da Vinci Code. I'm gonna say I think he probably has a few more misses in the 2000s than he did in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, Great Buck Howard, I think also starred his son and had John Malkovich in it. Colin Hanks, who I'm talking about from Orange County fame.
Orange County ruled.
Yeah, it did.
We should do that movie for drinking with. I think it's eligible.
And did you know, fun fact, my wife and I just got done binging season 1 and season 2 of The White Lotus. That's written and directed by Mike White.
Yeah.
He wrote Orange County. I had no idea.
No idea. No. Angels and Demons is a prequel. My bad. Thank you, Sean.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, it is.
I never watched Angels and Demons.
It's not very good. Da Vinci Code's fine. I still have an issue with Tom Hanks's hair in that, but it's fine. It's his buddy Ron Howard from Apollo 13. But then I think a lot of people don't know that. I think people remember the big, Saving Private Ryan. I mean, that was a huge thing. But Spielberg did Catch Me If You Can and The Terminal.
I loved Catch Me If You Can.
I did too.
I
with
loved
DiCaprio.
The Terminal.
I did too. I thought that's another underrated one. I don't think a lot of people appreciate that as much. To me, I would to answer your question, yes. I think there's a few more misses only because I think some
The Lady Killers.
right. And that was a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
That's the bummer of it. You think those two together would be magic in a bottle.
Talk a lot about Castaway. Castaway is a phenomenal.
Castaway is phenomenal. And one of the things that's amazing to me is his physical transformation. I know Christian Bale, Joaquin Phoenix, they take the title on this, but for something like that, I thought was really amazing. And they introduced a volleyball that would change Wilson. It would change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you think of? Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, but Road to Perdition does not get the respect it deserves.
I agree.
It is beautifully shot. It's an old gangster movie. I want to say that's one of the first times I really recognized the talent of Jude Law. I don't really think I had seen him that much before.
That's a good point.
It's the last. It's funny because Tom Hanks is a voice in Cars, ends up being Paul Newman's final film.
Yeah.
But Paul Newman's final physical in-person role is Road to Perdition. I thought he was great. The way, spoiler alert, the way he goes out is beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
And just so you know, I think it was the follow-up film from Sam Mendes after winning for American Beauty, who's gone on to do Skyfall and other movies as well. 1917, which also is.
I love 1917.
It's the closest to pure perfection that sort of gives Saving Private Ryan a run for its money.
In terms of being war movies?
War movies, just the way it's shot and
the
done.
Airplane scene. Yeah. Oh, my God.
George McKay's great in that. But Road to Perdition, I think, is just so underrated. And by the way, Daniel Craig, he's in it.
Oh,
he's Paul Newman's son.
Yeah, I completely
basically starts the shit from the beginning. So it was, I love that. I really do love that movie. And I watched it recently. And I dare say and I guess because of seeing Tom Hanks, and you want to talk about a different character for Tom Hanks, because it's quite a quiet role, you know, but and he's tough on his son, but what he's able to do without really saying much, and I don't know, I still, gangster films are still a popular thing.
Sure, yeah,
but that scene when everybody goes down and it's raining and Paul Newman is looking at him and says, I was hoping I mean, he's accepted it, but he's glad it was him.
Yeah.
I'm like, I appreciate it more now than even when I saw it. And I thought that was some cool shit when I saw it. Paul Newman,
that was hard as fuck.
Till the day he died, was a cool dude.
What did you think of the Da Vinci Code? Because that was another big blockbuster movie. That was an event back in the summer of 2006 when that came out.
Dan Brown books.
I read the book. Obviously, as Sean points out in the comments, the books are better. That's the case for a lot of movies. Sure. I did like the book a lot more than the movie, but I actually thought the Da Vinci Code was really good.
And I thought the Da Vinci Code was good. But I don't remember being excited if they're going to do, because I think there's a couple of books now, because he's even released one after Angels and Demons. But I thought it was good. But as far as Tom Hanks, it's one of those, I don't really know if he needed to even do it to begin with, to be honest.
It's like an IP movie more than a Tom Hanks film.
Yeah, I think that's what there's more of the title of the movie than if Tom Hanks was what's his name? Robert
Langdon.
Langdon.
Yeah.
Professor I was going to go with Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger, I think.
They should have had Freddy Krueger for the Da Vinci Code.
Wouldn't that have been fun?
That would have been fun.
But the Jackie Earle Haley version.
Any thoughts on Charlie Wilson's War? That's the only movie we haven't really touched on. I never saw it.
Does it say who directed? I think it's Mike Nichols.
Well, I can find that out for you.
I think Mike Nichols did it, but I like that one. I think he did good. I think I think Philip Seymour Hoffman was kind of the
Mike Nichols.
Mike Nichols
screenplay by Aaron Sorkin.
Okay, all right. I did. I dug that movie.
Amy Adams in that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But I really remember Philip Seymour Hoffman's character more than
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I got no problem with that one. I think that's a good one.
Well, let's oh boy, let's talk about the
Need to take a breath?
2010s then.
Do you need
Well,
a
I'm just
drink?
saying, like we're only through 3 decades of this man's 5-decade career.
Well, it ain't all great.
It ain't all great, and
Are we about to get there?
Well, this is I feel like yes, we're gonna get there.
Okay.
2010, Toy Story 3. Then you have in 2011, Larry Crown.
I think it's underrated. There's a movie review rewind of it now, and that would be, I think we've determined, his second outing as a director. I liked it. I think him and Julia Roberts had great chemistry, and it leans heavily on his charm. But for something like that, rather than A Man Called Otto, I think it works to perfection.
He's in Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close.
Yeah.
Cloud Atlas in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Phillips in 2013.
Hell yeah.
2013 was also Saving Mr. Banks.
Okay.
2015, he is in Bridge of Spies.
Mm-hmm.
And then in
Spielberg again.
2016, we get A Hologram for the King.
I almost forgot about that movie.
Sully.
Mm-hmm.
Inferno.
That's the other Dan Brown one.
Yeah,
I forgot they did do another one.
In 2017, he's in The Circle with Emma Watson.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The Post with Meryl Streep.
Yep.
I never saw that one.
That's a good one. I like that one.
And then 2019, Toy Story 4 and A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yes.
I don't know, man. I just don't feel like it's the same punch as that 90s run, even that early 2000s run. It kind of feels like we've got to that point where Tom Hanks is a draw, but he's kind of like, to your point, like you were talking about earlier, like you'd like to see him take a few more chances. Like it feels like these are all kind of safe roles designed for Tom Hanks.
Well, and what's funny is even with Captain Phillips and Sully and Saving Mr. Banks, it's all real people. He's playing real people. I don't mind him in Saving Mr. Banks as Mr. Disney. I think I
thought that movie was boring. I turned it off.
I think in a lot of these movies that you just mentioned, he's not the center of like you don't.
It's not the charming.
You don't really take away Tom Hanks's performance, but
yeah,
I got to say the problem that a lot of them fall into is that when you're so good, even when you're good, we take you for granted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you've done this for 50 years, that can happen. But I would agree. I think Captain Phillips is one of his best. I thought The Post was actually
I want to
really
watch
well
that.
done.
Looking at it like what it is, I had forgotten about that movie completely, but now I want to go catch up.
I got no problem with any of the Toy Stories he's ever done, including the fourth one.
Mm-hmm.
But and then what was the last one?
A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Okay. I thought he did a great job as Mr. Rogers. I'll be honest. I don't really know if anyone else could have portrayed Mr. Rogers, but it's not one of those that sticks in my memory as one of the stellar Tom Hanks performances. When I think of that movie, I think of the documentary Won't You Be My Neighbor, which is splendid.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up.
But can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
I think the one thing that Tom Hanks manages to do within this time is he doesn't make you not like what he's done.
Yeah, sure.
But nothing really sticks out. And I think that's the problem when you've had the career he's had.
Yeah, fair enough. 2020, a lot of movies that we've talked about on this show already to start us off. 2020, he has Greyhound, which I said I thought was okay. I thought it was a good, solid streaming movie. We watched that. My father-in-law was in town for the weekend. We had a nice movie night with a couple of big bowls of popcorn, and we sat and watched it, and then it stormed. as we were
Oh.
watching it. Really set the tone. Nice movie.
I remember having my parents over. We watched it because that's the first Tom Hanks streaming, and Apple TV Plus was relatively new. Actually,
It was.
I think it was brand new.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but I thought I was going to use the same word. It's a solid war thriller.
Mm-hmm. He has a cameo, which I haven't seen this one yet. He has a cameo in Borat's subsequent movie film.
Yes.
And then he's in News of the World. That? No, I never watched it. No.
You should watch News of the World. That's a good
News
one.
of the World I want to finish. That was the one I told you I started and was like, oh shit, this actually looks good. I need to pause it.
And I think it gets lost in the shuffle of everything he's done.
Yeah.
And it's by Paul Greengrass, who's done some of the Bourne movies as well, United 93. But that is a good one.
And then in 2021, he's in Finch. And of course, this past year, 2022, is Elvis, the shitty Pinocchio, and A Man Called Otto, with 2023's Asteroid City, the Wes Anderson film you talked about earlier, in post-production right now. The cast has been described as being larger than most other Anderson films that are ensemble in nature. And that feels like an accomplishment, Brandon.
That's a holy shit.
Yeah, that feels like an accomplishment for a Wes Anderson
Look
movie.
at the cast from Moonrise Kingdom and Budapest Hotel alone and tell me.
So what do you think about this run that he's on right now?
Not his most impressive.
I would say it continues this streak of doing like the safe Tom Hanks movies, like not taking.
I don't think Elvis.
Chances.
I think Elvis is the exception.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough.
First of all, Baz Luhrmann.
Man,
he's got his own thing.
Yeah.
He's not the star, but he's a very pivotal person in it, right?
Sure.
I'd like to see Tom Hanks at least go for those kind of things that I don't think a lot of people would say he's right for.
Yeah.
I think he's done that. And I'm curious as to the character he'll play in Wes Anderson's movie, because I'm hoping it's a little wacky.
That's just what I was about to say.
That's what I'm rooting for.
I was going to say, like, with Wes Anderson, Tom Hanks at this stage of his career, I hope it's out there.
Yeah.
I hope it's kind of out there. Yeah.
Because I would say his performance in The Lady Killers, I didn't like that movie, but I've never seen Tom Hanks before or after do something like that. I think I would like it. And I meant to say, I didn't really like the movie. I didn't really think Tom Hanks added anything to it, but I almost respect his risk in doing Cloud Atlas.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
What the hell?
What the hell? Why not? I gotta shield my screen from you for this next part, because this is where I put you in the electric chair a little bit, because we've reached the end of like 40 minutes. We did our 10 minutes review of A Man Called Otto, and we are 40 minutes in on the Tom Hanks filmography, and we're just wrapping up. So now, something we like to do on this show, let's take a look at their awards history. Tom Hanks, how many Academy Award nominations do you think he has?
Nominations? I'm going to say 3.
He has 6.
Oh, 6?
He's been nominated at the Academy Awards. He's been nominated for Best Actor 5 times for roles in Big, Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan, and Castaway.
Oh, I should have known that.
His sixth nomination was the supporting actor field, which he was nominated for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
But an illustration of kind of like what we talked about, like this later run that Hanks was on, not having the punch that 90s run and that early 2000s run had. He goes 19 years in between being nominated for Castaway and being nominated for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yeah. And like I said, Captain Phillips should have been in it.
Captain Phillips should have been in it. He did get a nomination for Best Actor for Captain Phillips in at the BAFTAs.
No, I remember it being a shock because they thought he would be like that 4th or 5th guy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And that was disappointing. But
there are, let me count them real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 nominations at the Golden Globes. So you're looking at 4 movies, that he was nominated for a Golden Globe for that he wasn't nominated for an Oscar for. Can you guess what those movies
Is
are?
Captain Phillips one of them?
Captain Phillips is one of them.
The Lady Killers.
He was not nominated for the Lady Killers.
I actually thought they might do it
that
under
musical comedy category.
or comedy.
Yeah.
Splash.
Not Splash. No, Big was the first nomination. I keep saying nominee instead of nomination. It's the Scotch. We're in it an hour deep now. One surprised me. You
Sleepless in Seattle.
Sleepless in Seattle's one.
You've Got Mail.
Not You've Got Mail. The other ones are one from the 2000s, one from the 2010s.
One from the 2000s.
Yeah.
Did he get nominated for The Post?
He did get nominated for The Post. That's 3.
Okay, I thought he was in there. And then, so what's that leave? 2000s?
The 2000s, particularly 2008. Best actor in a motion picture, musical, or comedy.
Was it Charlie Wilson's War?
Charlie Wilson's War. Cheers to you.
I feel like anytime Mike Nichols and some of these filmmakers, which God rest his soul, he's gone, but I feel like that gets the attention of the of everybody in show business.
Keep me honest here. At the SAG Awards, the best ensemble cast is like their best movie.
Yes. They don't have a best picture or best film. So yeah.
So in addition to the movies that we've talked about, outstanding performance by an ensemble cast at the SAG Awards. 2000, he's nominated for The Green Mile.
Okay.
And then in 1996, Apollo 13 was nominated and won. Outstanding performance by an ensemble cast in a motion picture.
I was thinking it played well, like overall, for during the award season. I knew he wasn't nominated. Actually,
would you consider? Go ahead. Sorry, finish.
Well, I was going to say, I think somebody was nominated for Apollo 13.
I don't
know if that was Ed Harris or a Bill Paxton, maybe. Go ahead. I could be wrong.
Would you consider the Critics' Choice Awards major award in the circuit? It feels like it's just on the cusp of that.
I think it's on the cusp. I almost respect them more than probably the Golden Globes.
Fair enough.
Because Golden Globes nominated The Tourist. But I will say that a lot of times they just differ so much from the Academy and SAG, which they kind of go hand in hand because of the branches that's involved. But I mean, I watch them. I like them.
So the Critics' Choice Awards nominated him. He hasn't won one, but he was nominated for Sully in 2017. And he was actually nominated Best Actor for News of the World in 2021.
That was that to me, that was kind of, I wouldn't say like a big deal, but I mean, like, I don't think Tom Hanks would have won, but I think a lot of people forget about that. But again, when you've been in the business for 5 decades, you're gonna forget. But I remember it coming out, and actually, I remember seeing it. I think around Christmas. I know it came out in December.
Yeah. So I do have some trivia prepared on Tom Hanks. He is the second actor. Something you talked about earlier. I was just grinning thinking about this question coming down the pipeline.
Okay.
The second actor to win back-to-back Best Actor Oscars for Philadelphia and Forrest Gump.
He was the second.
He was the second. Any idea who the first was?
Oh, God.
This happened in 1937 and 1938.
God, who was alive then? Jesus.
Can you name an actor from the 1930s?
Charlie Chaplin.
Was he the 30s? I thought he was the 20s. Was he still?
No, he's still in the 30s. I watched a documentary about him.
I'll give you that. I don't know.
Oh my God. I mean, I guess I want to.
It's an actor I think you would know.
I mean, I feel like, but in the 30s, I don't even think like it's Cary Grant or any of those guys either. Like, I feel like I got to go one above that.
Do you have?
Could it Jimmy Stewart?
It's not Jimmy Stewart. It is Spencer Tracy.
Damn
for
it.
Captains Courageous and Boys Town.
I haven't watched those. I know who Spencer Tracy is, but damn. So 1930s, then in the 1990s, and it hasn't happened since.
I don't believe it has happened since.
And I'm going to tell you, because people don't want to reward people back to back. They rather just give it to someone else.
Mm-hmm. Tom Hanks enjoys collecting typewriters. I believe his filmography, I think he's even done a documentary on typewriters.
He is a part of it, and it was at the Nashville Film Festival.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I have a thing, I think, on Sopros about, but it is actually very fascinating, and it's not just about typewriters. I mean, it is, but it's about a lot more, and he's in it. But there is a story where he went somewhere in Tennessee, I think it was a few years ago before COVID, and he went to this little store and bought one, and told them, he's like, don't, because it was kind of one of those where it's like not like a yard sale, but like a flea market, but it was a store where he went in and he said, "Don't be cheap. I'm a celebrity."
Okay.
So I don't know how much he actually gave for it, but he is a huge typewriter person.
He has over 80 in his personal collection, and he even helped design an app that simulates antique typewriters, their sound and feel, which to me, like, I listen to ASMR at night. People like whispering and crinkling shit into the microphone. Like, I'm thinking like Tom Hanks typing on a typewriter. That's some pretty good ASMR right there. It was a very successful app, made it to the top list on the App Store in August of 2014. Good for Tom Hanks.
And he writes, because I have a book of short stories by him.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep.
I'm going to have to, what's the name of it? Well, you know
don't
what?
Ask
I'm just
me
going
now, but I've got it.
I'm going to jot that down on a live broadcast. Just taking my notes.
I found it a year or so ago.
He is a distant cousin of Walt Disney, who he portrayed in Saving Mr. Banks. And according to the family genealogy website Ancestry, Tom and Fred Rogers are sixth cousins and share the same great grandfather.
Only Tom Hanks.
Who his third cousin 4 times removed, that would be Abraham Lincoln. So this feels like some Illuminati shit.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks is connected, and that's how he got to be.
I think he's a second coming of Christ. You can't have his generosity and kindness and then be related to some of the most innovative people on earth, and also with Abraham Lincoln, who changed the lives of so many, and be this damn successful too.
This might be, I'm trying to think of our conversation from earlier. Which movie did you say you thought he turned something down to do something else?
That thing you do.
This might have been it. He was asked to play the title role in Jerry Maguire in 1996, but it eventually went to Tom Cruise.
Maybe that's it.
He also auditioned for the lead role in Risky Business, but it eventually went to Tom Cruise as well.
Look at him.
So the battle of the Toms there. This is one I want to ask you about. There's a movie that an actor went on to receive a Best Actor Oscar nomination for, where he had to play 2 characters, and that was originally going to be Tom Hanks. This movie may or may not be on our radar for a future episode of Drake.
There's only one movie that came to mind, and that's Adaptation with Nick Cage.
Yeah. Tom Hanks has been really good friends with Bruce Springsteen since his youth.
Oh.
And
they may have even lived together. Wasn't it Tom Hanks and Al Gore that lived together at one point in an apartment?
I didn't catch that.
I could be throwing shit out. That makes no sense. But I know somebody like Tom Hanks lived with like a politician guy. All right, go ahead. Sorry,
Tom Hanks.
I'm sorry. That was Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, good.
I get Tom Hanks and Tommy Lee Jones.
They're Toms. Yeah. He once shared a record as the actor to star in the most consecutive $100 million grossing movies with 7. But as of 2008, someone else holds the record with 8 movies. Do you know who that actor is?
Will Smith.
It is Will Smith. Yes. Okay. Fun fact, we don't have to list all of these, but 9 actors have received Oscar nominations for Best Supporting Actor for their work in a movie starring Hanks. So not only does he have the drawing power, but he seems to bring out the best in those on screen with him.
I mean, Mark Rylance, Bridge of Spies, and he won.
He might be on the list here.
He should
he
be.
is there. It's Gary Sinise for Forrest Gump, Ed
Yes.
Harris in Apollo 13.
That's it.
Michael Clark Duncan in The Green Mile, Paul Newman in Road to Perdition, Christopher Walken in Catch Me If You Can, Philip Seymour Hoffman in Charlie Wilson's War. I can't pronounce this name, Max von Sydow in Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. The guy from Captain Phillips.
I was going to say.
And Mark Rylance. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So this one surprised me. He was listed as a potential nominee on both the 2005 and 2007 Razzie Award nominating ballots. He was suggested in the Worst Actor category in the 2005 ballot, and he was suggested again in the Worst Actor category 2 years later in 2006. Any guesses as to what
Cloud Atlas
the movies were? It was not Cloud Atlas.
2005.
It was 2000. He was on the ballots in 2005 and 2007.
So that's 2004 and
2006. Yeah.
And I can't remember all the filmography stuff that we just discussed. So
I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised by the 2005 one.
I really can't think of any that I would put, because Tom Hanks just isn't.
2007. I kind of get it's for the Da Vinci Code. And it's kind of like what we're talking about, like hokey IP kind of movie, crowd pleaser.
But, I mean, the worst?
I wouldn't say he's the worst, but I can at least get it. Like in what?
There you go. I don't know what it was.
Oh God!
I'm just trying to help you. I don't want people to.
I hope nobody's zooming in that close on my face.
Okay, that's all right. Fine, I guess. I don't. I think it's bullshit, but whatever.
2005 ballots is The Lady Killers.
I don't know why I feel like that was like 2001. That's I was about to say. Well, if you're going to put, I'm sure people can see.
Keeping tabs on the cat.
If you're going to put him in anything, all right, The Lady Killers, because that's probably his worst movie.
But they also mentioned The Terminal.
No.
And The Polar Express, which is referred to on the ballot as the Bipolar Express.
First of all, a lot of people think that movie's creepy, which I kind of understand.
Well, I get it. Yeah.
I'm throwing her under the bus again. My wife does not like the Polar Express.
What?
No.
We need her on this podcast.
Creepy and that it's weird. And I said the Polar Express broke technological levels.
Yeah.
That no one had done before at that motion capturing.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it looks a little weird, but why wouldn't you have Tom Hanks play more than a few characters? That bum on the train is kind of weird. It does. It's a little terrifying.
I would agree with that. Yes.
But listen, when the director,
I kind of like that in a Christmas movie. I love like Jim Carrey's Christmas Carol.
Oh yeah, that's a weird.
It's the same vibes.
Yeah, I think it's from the same guy because he did Beowulf too.
I love Beowulf.
So to me, I'm like, and listen, this also is from Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah.
If you've done Forrest Gump and Castaway, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. Let's get to something.
That got me fired up. I can't believe someone would.
I know.
That.
I couldn't believe it either.
Bullshit.
My goodness, what's wrong with you guys? Something that we do on every filmmaker actor profile. We've reached the end of the conversation an hour and 10 minutes later. And honestly, we probably could have gone longer.
I was going to say this could be 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's because we got to get home.
It is the Golden Globes. Mount Rushmore of Tom Hanks. You want to go first? I'll go first because to be fair, like I've seen maybe a fifth of his actual filmography.
Okay.
I feel like people are going to call me a bitch for mine. I feel like people are going to hate me for this.
I bet there are more people who actually, if they look through the filmography, I bet you there's a lot that they actually haven't, I bet, seen all the way through.
Yeah. I would put Road to Perdition on there.
Okay.
I would have Catch Me If You Can
on
there. If we're talking about not necessarily the quality of the film, but if I'm being honest about how often I watch a Tom Hanks movie, I think I watch The Polar Express more than any other Tom Hanks movie. I watch it every Christmas.
Yeah,
So I think I would put it in there. And then I think I would go with You've Got Mail.
I've said it before. I love You've Got Mail.
But I do want to give...
There is a charm to that can't be, that it's immeasurable. And I mean, Sleepless in Seattle, I mean, it's not like him and Meg Ryan, which I miss Meg Ryan. But okay.
I do want to give a shout out though, because I originally, and this is what I feel like would probably make some people mad, but if I'm looking at the movie overall, it came down to The Polar Express. The Polar Express got in because of how much I watch it.
Yeah, that's your favorite.
I was this close to putting Elvis in that final spot.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I am surprised to hear that.
Overall,
but it's
movie,
only because you haven't seen some others.
It's only because I haven't. Yeah, I don't remember Captain Phillips. I don't remember The Green Mile. Castaway was another one that was up there. I'm in the camp that, like, I don't think I like Forrest Gump as much as everybody else does.
So this is the way you could almost switch a couple out.
Yeah.
Just back and forth, and you'd be fine. This is probably the toughest Mount Rushmore.
I think so. Yeah.
Because here's the thing. You can go by a Tom Hanks performance, you can go by the like his performance and the movie itself. You can also go by, like, I think with what you're saying, like on just a personal favorite that you watch a lot that may not be his greatest achievement, but that's kind of the point of your own Mount Rushmore.
I do think we tried to do a Mount Rushmore for Peter Berg.
And that was a tough,
and that was tough
that
because
was a tough one.
Did he make 4 good movies?
Right. And Friday Night Lights was one of them. I mean, Forrest Gump and Saving Private Ryan, I as a film lover, I have to put that up there.
Fair enough.
It doesn't mean that I watch it all the time, but those two movies, and especially with Hanks' career, I feel like they're a must.
Yeah.
I actually thought one of yours would be the same, and I don't know if a lot of people would put it on there, especially those that are like huge fans of kind of his 80s work, but I also would put Road to Perdition on there. I think it's one of his best performances and one of the best films. And
I will say,
top of Daniel Craig and Paul,
the cast,
it's
and that shot,
stunning.
Like you said, was hoping it was you, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Sean added in the comments, Road to Perdition is one of his 5 favorite movies of all time.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, that's nice, but
we hold it in high regard.
Yeah. So the last one is kind of tough, and and it may not be the ones that you think, but I'm gonna say Castaway.
Yeah, it was up there for me too.
But I honestly, and I almost want to put this on there because I don't think a lot of people will. And after the news I just heard, but I really enjoyed his performance in The Terminal.
I did really too. I thought he was great. I thought that was a great underrated movie that I don't feel like a lot of people saw. And you talk about movies that kind of get lost in the shuffle of this grand filmography of this man. I feel like that's one of them.
And I mean, and it's Hanks and Spielberg, mind you, and Catherine Zeta-Jones, Stanley Tucci.
Yeah.
God bless Stanley Tucci. But yeah, I think that was it. But I mean, I think everyone would agree at home, and even if you're watching this a week later, you have, first of all, finish News of the World.
I do want to finish that. Will you watch that with me? News of the World?
Finish Captain Phillips.
Okay. My wife gave me a thumbs up. You want to finish Captain Phillips with me?
Watch The Post.
Thumbs up there. The Post, Meryl Streep.
And before you do any of the rest of that, you must watch Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, I know I'm saving that for Ryan because I know Ryan wants me to watch that, and we've been talking for.
And he has a war thing on Sobros Network.
He does,
and I know it's included. It has to be
ranked the modern era war films.
Oh yeah.
We've been talking about doing a content thing for that, where maybe we watch it and do like a podcast.
I think that's
or
like
something.
2.5.
It'd be a good episode of Movie Review Rewind.
That would be a good one.
We could get Ryan on. Yeah,
I think
we'll do that.
It's at least 2.5 hours. At least
it's a long one.
Yeah,
that's what she said.
Well,
Brandon, we finally done it. I think this is one of the
What do we clock in at?
The longest podcast we've ever done outside of the Oscars live stream that we've done the past 2 years. I'm still getting over COVID and bronchitis, so like I don't know if people can hear it. My voice is already starting to go a little bit, but I'm proud of the discussion we've had here. Hopefully we've done justice to the filmography of Tom Hanks. Do you have any parting shots before we get on out of here today?
No. My personal advice are the movies I've mentioned. You should really catch up on some Tom Hanks greats, but there's nobody who can sit out there and tell me that Tom Hanks is not one of the greatest actors to ever live.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I really believe that. If you look, even if you just look at a few movies each decade, there are so many who couldn't do half of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that he is still going, my wish, and I think it could very well start this year with Wes Anderson's film, is I would really like to see him kind of like, let's just, kind of throw it to the wind and let's see what he can do, because no one is going to question his talent. He's the most established you'll ever be.
Sure.
And so I'm really kind of excited if he'll start collaborating with directors and filmmakers, young and old, that he hasn't worked with before.
Yeah. I hear you.
What about Tom
You said
Hanks?
Tarantino, and I was like, oh, damn.
And what about because
I thought Tarantino was done making movies.
They've got one more.
One more? Okay.
If it's true. And but they released a thing of Beau is Afraid. How about Tom Hanks and Ari Aster? How about, besides that, the first movie he ever did, let's do a effed up horror movie.
Yeah, I'm
See
here
what
for
I mean? There's too much talent behind the camera where I think he could, where if given the right
I'm
role.
just thinking if Tom Hanks did some like weird indie A24 flick.
What's the I never say it right, but the Safdie brothers, Uncut Gems.
Oh man, could you imagine Tom Hanks in the Sandler role for Uncut Gems?
Sorta.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
That's
like,
not as mind blowing.
Doesn't it kind of work?
Yes, it does. and Hanks is a guy that you put him in anything and he makes better. I mean, he really does. And people know him. I think the thing is, which hopefully we got across here tonight, is that I don't give a shit what age you are. You know Tom Hanks from something. You're a fan of Tom Hanks. You don't have to love every movie he's done, but you have to respect the man and what he's been able to do. But there are so many great filmmakers that I feel like he likes he likes the ones he's worked with. We've talked about Ron Howard, Spielberg, Zemeckis, but I would really dig or honest to God, let's give him another shot at a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, that I'm thinking,
let's redo that.
Taika Waititi, some like zany offbeat Jojo Rabbit shit.
Yes.
That would play well. I'm laughing because I'm thinking like I can't remember the guy's name. Who's the guy that did The Northman and The Lighthouse and
Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers, like put him in some weird like batshit crazy revenge story.
But the thing is, there's nothing Tom Hanks can't do.
There's nothing Tom Hanks can't do. I hope he's listening. I hope he's watching now, and he's listening to two jackasses in Nashville, Tennessee.
If we tweet this at him, he might respond with that Tom famous HANX. If he's still on,
roll the dice. Roll the dice, Tom Hanks. Roll the dice.
Yeah,
let it fly.
If anything, also watch his kids movie, Orange County. It's fun.
Orange County does rule. I do love that movie. I do want to ask my wife, who has joined us for the broadcast here tonight, do you have a favorite Tom Hanks movie? She's thinking. Forrest Gump. She says Forrest Gump. No arguments there. Listen, I get it. I think it is one of those movies that, you know my nature. Like, if people say it's the greatest of all time, before I even lay eyes on it, I'm kind of like, come on.
And
I think I went into it trying to fight that attitude of
this
just
is the
enjoying
problem.
it.
What year did you watch it?
2019.
That's the problem.
Maybe 2020. I don't know.
To me, that's the issue, is that
people said the same thing about the Boondock Saints.
Right. You hear so much about a movie, and the longer it goes, the more that it's overhyped. But if you saw it then and there, which we've always talked about, I think that's how Star Wars started out. I don't think it's the greatest thing, but you know what? In 1970, whatever, I'm sure it was. you watching it now compared to then, I think makes some sort of difference.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
Fair enough.
I think it stands the test of time, and I think a lot of Tom Hanks movies stands the test of time. But that does make me curious to see how you respond to Save It Private Ryan, because it was a huge deal then.
Yeah.
But I don't think that thing has aged a bit. And I think it's still very impressive.
Yeah. All right. Well, remind our listeners of how they can find your work, how they can find you on social media.
On Twitter, at Sir Brandon V, hashtag VixFlix, most up-to-date movie reviews, and of course, at VixFlixPod.
And I am at Stoney Keeley on Twitter, at Sobros Network on all major social media platforms. You can check out all of our work on SobrosNetwork.com, Brandon's film reviews, all of the shit that I write about, SobrosNetwork.com. All of our merch is up at SobrosShop.com. As you can see at the ticker at the bottom of the screen, we also have a Patreon account. There's an exhaustive content library up there featuring hundreds of articles, hundreds of podcasts, all available. $5 a month gets you instant access. It's patreon.com/Sobros Network. Support the team there. Of course, subscribe to the VixFlix podcast on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Wherever you take in your shows, we are out in these internet streets, baby. We ain't hard to find. You can give us a rating and a review whenever you have a moment. That's how we get better, and we always want to be better for you guys. For Mr. Big Shot himself, Brandon Vick, for Tom Hanks himself, I am Big Natural Stoney Keeley. And until next time, you stay classy, moviegoers.